I, David Norman Dinkins,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of
the
America,
Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Charter of the City of New York,
and the Charter of the City of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of the Mayor of the City of New York
of the office of the Mayor of the City of New York
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Mr. Mayor.
And with those words, moments after midnight, David Norman Dinkins was officially sworn in as New York City's 106th mayor. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sarah Lee Kessler. Welcome to a special Inauguration Day edition of 9 Broadcast Plaza. Today is truly an historic day for New York City. David Dinkins is now the first black elected mayor of New York City, sworn in by State Court of Appeals Judge Fritz Alexander in the judge's Bronx apartment. The new mayor then swore in his corporation council, the new police commissioner, and his 4 deputy mayors. The private ceremony was attended by dozens of close friends who crowded into the apartment. Today, the public inauguration, with thousands starting to crowd into City Hall Park. You can see them just starting to gather now. The bunting already prepared and ready to go right outside City Hall. And joining us now from the site of the festivities are Matt and Renee. Good morning.
Morning, Sarah Lee.
Sarah Lee, how you doing? First of all, a couple of notes about the weather. As you can see, the sun is shining right now. We got here at around 9:30 this morning. It was cloudy. It was very cold and still. Behind a cloud every once in a while, it can get real chilly here, but for the most part, the people who are here to see the inauguration are going to enjoy a beautiful day. Now, about a little noise you're hearing, timing is everything. Just as we came on the air, as you can hear, the All-City High School band came marching by right in front of us. They'll be a part of the inauguration, and you're hearing them in the background right now. I hope you can hear us all right.
Yeah, I think you can. A lot of the dignitaries are already here. Mayor Koch is here. Harry Belafonte arrived. Geraldine Ferraro. Desmond Tutu is here, and they've all been seated. If you look right back here, a lot of the chairs up on top, we got a hold of the seating arrangement, and if you were lucky enough to be up on top, you got padded seats with blankets, but the rest of the audience has to sit on hard chairs, no blankets.
And so we've been trying to finagle one of those blankets all morning and haven't gotten one. Now, on a serious note, a representative of the AIDS activist group ACT UP came up to me earlier. He said, there is going to be a silent protest today at about 12:25 during the benediction. Now, about 20 members of that group have tickets. They're on the other side of the podium, and they plan during the benediction to stand up and hold up signs that read something like, Cardinal O'Connor is a public health menace, and just say no to Cardinal O'Connor. We should also mention that the representative of ACT UP told me that this had been negotiated with representatives of David Dinkins' administration, that the administration actually knows this is going to go on. However, it will be a silent protest and not disruptive, according to the AIDS activists.
That's right. They didn't want to rain on Mayor Dinkins' parade, and so they negotiated a silent protest, about 12:25 when Cardinal O'Connor gives the benediction.
So we should also mention you're going to be seeing a lot of coverage here from the inauguration. Kelly Wright is here, Chuck Gomez is here, and we'll give you a full story as more develops behind us. It's about to get underway here, Sarah Lee, but right now back to you in the studio.
All right, thank you very much, Matt and Renee. We'll be back to them later in the broadcast. And still ahead on this special inaugural edition of 9 Broadcast Plaza, we'll have all the day's news in addition to the inaugural festivities, so stay right here.
Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon are musicians.
Anything today?
Nothing.
Thank you.
I can't go on, Joe. I'm weak from hunger. I'm running a fever. I got a hole in my shoe.
If you gave me a chance, we could be living like kingmen. What kind of a band is it anyway?
You got to be under 25. We could pass for that. You got to be blonde. We could dye our hair. And you got to be girl.
We could. No, we couldn't.
Who walk to a slightly different beat. Marilyn Monroe, Tony Curtis, and Jack Lemmon star in Some Like It Hot. Tonight at 7:30 on Channel 9.
No matter where you've been, there's nothing like the feeling of coming home. Unless you're the victim of a burglary. It's traumatizing to lose sentimental objects as well as your valuables. You feel violated, vulnerable. You've lost your peace of mind. That's why ADT, the leader in home security, developed SafeWatch, a unique security system that helps give you 24-hour protection. For a small monthly fee and a one-time installation charge, your home can be linked to an ADT alarm center. It's so easy to get the affordable security of SafeWatch. Isn't your peace of mind worth a simple phone call? Call this toll-free number today so that all your homecomings can be good ones.
ADT, we're home even when you're not.
ADT SafeWatch, less than $1 a day. Call right now, 1-800-ADT-INFO.
Rachel and Lisa have just been telling me about their favorite teacher. I know you have a favorite teacher, too, one who really deserves an A+. Well, now Channel 9 and A&P have come up with a way for you to reward that teacher and throw a party for your whole class. If you're in grades 3 through 8, just come to A&P. You don't have to buy anything. Look for this poster, follow the directions, and each week we'll pick a winning student on Steam Pipe Alley. Just think, you may be A&P's A+ Kid of the Week.
Welcome back now to a special Inauguration Day edition of 9 Broadcast Plaza. During the campaign, David Dinkins billed himself as a healer for a divided city. But just before Dinkins took the oath of office, one of Dinkins' allies may have done some division of his own. Comments about the Mideast that may offend Jews. At an ecumenical service yesterday, Jesse Jackson said the birthplace of Jesus is under occupation. Also, there was Bishop Desmond Tutu. Last month, he tried to compare Israel to South Africa's government while visiting the Middle East. Yesterday, Jackson also took some shots at the U.S. invasion of Panama.
There are 15,000 more homeless in Panama, and to have thousands dead because we invaded.
Well, in response to the controversy generated by some of Jackson's remarks, Dinkins says that he disagrees with some of his supporters on some issues, but they're still his friends. Now we're going to join news reporter Chuck Gomez at City Hall, where the band is playing and everything is getting ready for the Dinkins inaugural. Chuck, what's the mood like out there?
Well, Sarah Lee, I'm not going to correct you, but I will say that the band is not playing just yet. They will be in a few minutes. And in a few minutes, the 106th mayor of the city of New York, David N. Dinkins, will be sworn in. Some 12,000 invitations have been sent out. As you can see, dignitaries are beginning to file in. But Mayor Dinkins has made it clear that this is a ceremony for everybody. Many more people are lined outside on the streets, on the sidewalks, to witness this historical event. Although technically, as you said earlier, Sarah, David Dinkins was sworn in at the home of Judge Fritz Alexander last night in the Bronx. The theme of this particular inauguration is unity and hope for the future. David Dinkins stressing in his words the gorgeous mosaic of ethnic backgrounds and religion, which he says so typifies this city. Excuse me, to give you an idea of how this inauguration is going to shape up, there will be speeches and performances by individuals and groups representing a cross-section of ethnic and religious backgrounds. That'll begin with a processional and performance by the Korean traditional dance troupe. Then we'll have a city high school marching band perform, and the gay men's chorus will also perform. Then there will be invocations by Rabbi Gilbert Clapperman and the Reverend Gardner Taylor. The Master of Ceremonies, Harry Belafonte, will introduce Mayor-elect Dinkins and Joyce Dinkins. Dinkins will be sworn in, followed by a spiritual reading from Desmond Tutu, the 1984 Nobel Prize winner. As you mentioned, Sarah, Desmond Tutu has caused some controversy here for his pro-Palestine stand. So far, we haven't seen the demonstrations that are supposed to materialize. Governor Cuomo will make a short speech, and then City Council President Andrew Stein and Controller-elect Elizabeth Holtzman will be sworn in. And then Cardinal O'Connor will give the benediction for the ceremony. David Dinkins will march down the steps of City Hall, and then we'll go on to the big party at the Winter Garden. So right now, as you can see, the All-City High School Marching Band is beginning to march in. I think if our camera can follow them, they're beginning to walk in at this very moment. We're going to have dignitaries that are going to fill those yellow seats just above the platform there. This particular group will be followed, as we mentioned, by the Gay Men's Chorus. This is David Dinkins' effort to include all kinds of groups in his inauguration. He said that he wanted everybody here. And one interesting sidelight, he provided 200 tickets for homeless people so they could attend this inauguration. At this moment, we're beginning to see the people from inside City Hall start filing into...
It was the night David Dinkins made history. The night he became the first black man to be elected mayor of New York.
For what can unite us is far stronger than the forces that can keep us apart.
Dinkins was born the son of a Trenton barber 62 years ago. He served in the U.S. Marines. Dinkins' first elected office was in the Assembly. He was the Manhattan Borough president when he decided to make the run for the city's top post. Polarization of the city became one of Dinkins' themes. He used it to upset Mayor Koch in a hard-fought primary.
We're all together now. That's right. All right. All together now.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Come say hello to David Dinkins.
Thank you.
Koch pledged his support and joined Dinkins on the campaign trail, a campaign that some complain became increasingly negative.
David Dinkins. Why does he always wait until he's caught?
First, there were charges that Dinkins did not pay taxes years ago.
I take responsibility for that. I'm sorry it happened. It was my fault. I blame no one.
Then there was a controversy over a stock sale to his son.
Every time I leave a platform, someone rushes to me and says, the people have a right to know. Now, when did you do this and why didn't you do it and so forth?
And his connection with the controversial community activist Sonny Carson raised a few eyebrows. But Dinkins brought in a host of nationally known celebrities to boost his cause, among them Bill Cosby, Senator Edward Kennedy, and the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Do the right thing. Vote for Dave Dinkins. You have put your trust in me, and while every one of us will not always agree on the fundamental things, I will never let you down.
And in a few minutes, David Dinkins will be sworn in as the 106th mayor of the city of New York. At this moment, the all-city high school band has just marched in, and in a few minutes, we'll have Harry Belafonte introducing the mayor. Back to you, Sarah, in the studio.
All right, thank you very much, Chuck. Right now, joining me in our 9 Broadcast Plaza studios are Channel 9 News commentator Beth Fallon and political analyst Steve Adubato. First for Beth, this is the realization of a dream for David Dinkins. Son of a barber, born in Trenton, spent a lot of his life in Harlem. What in his background made today possible?
First of all, the fact that he's an extremely nice guy and always has been. All his life, David Dinkins has been liked by people. And as he rose through the Democratic Party, J. Raymond Jones, the old Harlem Fox, adopted him. Lots of people have adopted David Dinkins, and now the city of New York has. The other thing is tenacity. David Dinkins applied to the Marines 3 times before they would let him in because they had, quote, too many blacks. The black quota was filled. David Dinkins is not a man who's easily put off by adversity.
Speaking of tenacity, Steve Adubato, it took Dinkins 3 tries to win as Manhattan Borough president. He finally won in 1985. There were a lot of naysayers when he first announced for mayor, people who said he'd never win. What about New York's political climate made it possible?
Well, Beth, first of all, Beth is right on. The tenacity, the nice guy, the paying of dues for many, many years. This is not an outsider. But the other thing you can never forget is that people were really tired of Ed Koch. While now there's a feeling of nostalgia and people say they miss Koch, it's because he lost and because he's not going to be around. We can't forget the fact that Dinkins was in position to take over for a guy that people were sick and tired of. They were tired of the nasty, negative comments, the biting of the press, the making of excuses all the time. They were ready for a guy like David Dinkins. His timing was great.
Well, right now, there's going to be a honeymoon for David Dinkins. Beth,
A very short one.
Yeah, well, that's what I'd like to know.
Blink your eye and it's gone.
Do you have a prediction? How many days? Will he get 100 days?
Dinkins hasn't had a honeymoon. There's an
That's right.
investigation of him by the Eastern District U.S. Attorney into the stock transfer to his son of the inner-city broadcasting stuff. I wouldn't say this. If I had a honeymoon like this, I'd be looking for a divorce.
Yet no mention of that was in any of today's newspapers that I saw. Everything was wine and roses, a new era for New York City, new hope for New York City. How do you account for that?
Sarah Lee, I think that is the press's way, and Beth, you know, I know you'll jump in. I think that's the press's way of saying, look, Mr. Mayor, and I know he wants to be called Mr. Mayor, not David, right? That's important, Mr. Mayor. I think that's their way of saying, look, you're going to get just a couple of days from us, but they're going to be all over him. And I don't think they really, I think they're ready to pounce, not only on the issue of the investigations, but the budget situation and the negotiations with the municipal unions, all kinds of things.
Dinkins comes in to a real hard row to hoe. And on the day someone's being inaugurated mayor, it would be bad manners and bad taste to mention the other, except for us, of course. We tell you everything.
Okay. Right now, Renee Hambley is standing by live in City Hall Park. Renee, we'd like to join you for an update on what's happening out your way.
Thank you, Sarah Lee. There are several protests going on, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But there are also some people with very positive attitudes about Mayor Dinkins. And with us is the Guardian Angels and, of course, my friend Lisa Sliwa. Good morning.
Good morning and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. So what does this mean? How do you feel? They talk about Dinkins giving us a new era in New York. How do you feel about it?
We feel terrific. We're so happy. We've already seen the signs of change ever since he won the election. We've had excellent liaisons with people in his administration, and we think it's really important for New York because he's going to put crime and children first, and we think those are two big areas of concern. We're so happy, Renee. That's why we came out with the posters and the signs of support today.
Right, because as I said, there are several demonstrations going on. Do you expect any trouble or anything? Is that why you're here, or are you really here just to support Mayor Dinkins?
We're really here just to support the mayor. Naturally, if there is any trouble, we won't hesitate to get involved. But I think he's setting a tone, and I especially, as a woman, I like the way he's incorporating women into the administration. They're being given top posts, and I think that's really important because I think women in the city were ignored for about the last 12 years.
And it was also a good sign that the Guardian Angels got 4 VIP seats in the audience. I think that's a real good sign.
I think it's an excellent sign. We'll be down at the World Financial Center for the reception, too, and we wish him the best of luck.
I'm glad you came down with support. Thank you very much, Lisa. Let's go back to Sarah Lee in the studio.
Thank you, Renee, and thank you, too, to Steve Adubato and Beth Found. We'll be joining you throughout this broadcast for updates and further analysis and insight. Thank you. Now, coming up, we're going to have the rest of the day's news as we continue our inaugural edition of 9 Broadcast Plaza, and we'll take a look back at the career of the outgoing mayor, Edward I. Koch.
Follow the infinite voyage to Crisis in the Atmosphere, part of Digital Equipment Corporation's Discovery series.
Monday, January 8th at 8 p.m. on Channel 9.
The bill consolidation loan, I guess, is one of the main purposes customers mention when applying for a loan. They have a lot of bills, they have a lot of charge accounts, they have a lot of bank loans at pretty high rates. It certainly makes a lot of sense for them to take out a home equity loan, put all their bills into one small, low monthly payment, and free up maybe several $100s a month, which they could put into a savings account. When your bank says no, Champion says yes.
That's my wife, Julie Yancey. She just found out we won the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes. Julie's generally a pretty cool lady, but when you win $1 million, I guess you have something to shout about.
What would you do if you won $10 million? You can. Just watch your mail for this house and enter the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes right away. On January 26th, you could be our next millionaire. But when you win, try to act cool.
Honey, it's time for the news.
Step into a new dimension in broadcast news now on Channel 9. You'll feel like you're in the center of the action, behind the scenes. So don't just watch the news at 10, experience it on Channel 9.
Welcome back once again to our special Inauguration Day edition of 9 Broadcast Plaza. In just a few minutes, David Dinkins will be officially sworn in as New York City's 106th mayor. The man Dinkins replaces had a 12-year run at City Hall. He wanted another 4 years. The voters said no. Still, Ed Koch says he has no regrets, as we see in this look back at the Koch years.
I'm leaving after a 12-year natural high.
Ed Koch sounding like one happy lame duck at his final mayoral news conference last week. And why not? When Koch took over from Abe Beame 12 years ago, the city was demoralized. It faced bankruptcy. He had told New Yorkers,
life is tough, but if we work together, this city can become the great city it once was.
And Koch began to turn things around. He attacked the budget. He got Congress to approve $2 billion in federal loan guarantees. He lifted New York's spirits with his unpredictable humor.
Will the next kook please stand up?
The brash, outspoken mayor coasted to re-election in '81 and '85. But Koch's third term was troubled from the start. His close friend, Queensboro President Donald Maness,
committed suicide following shocking revelations about the Parking Violations Bureau. The PVB was the first in a long list of scandals that would haunt Koch's last term. WedTech, the city talent bank, the best mess.
When I find that they have lied, I would fire them. I fired her.
A gut-wrencher for the mayor. Meyerson had campaigned arm in arm with Koch when no one knew the congressman outside his Greenwich Village district. Then there was the Jesse Jackson affair. Koch said Jews would have to be crazy to vote for Jackson for president. That comment cost Koch dearly. Blacks turned en masse to David Dinkins. Koch now says his biggest regret is that blacks didn't see him as a friend. Still, Koch leaves office feeling good about himself and about the job he's done.
I've been the mayor in the most crucial period, as I perceive it, in the city's history. I mean, that's an extraordinary experience. I loved it.
And Edward Koch is about to have an extraordinary experience in 1990, a very lucrative experience. He's going to be a TV analyst and a radio reporter, and he'll also give speeches all over the country, making lots of money, and he joined a law firm. Big question, Beth Fallon and Steve Adubato. What did Koch give to New York City that New Yorkers will never forget?
First of all, his personality. He was one of their own. Tough, brash, aggressive, decisive. Everything people think New Yorkers are, whether they like it or not. He's them.
Did he do a good job?
That's a very complex question, can't be answered in a soundbite. I agree, he was tough, he's quintessential New York, but he didn't know when to keep his mouth shut. And frankly, it's my opinion that if he did know when to do that, there's a very good chance he would have won an unprecedented fourth term.
Koch says he's going to keep his mouth shut for the first 6 months of David Dinkins' term. He said he's not going to criticize the new mayor. Do you believe that, Beth?
No, I don't think Koch will ever keep his mouth shut, but I disagree with Steve in that everybody has the defects of their virtues. If Koch hadn't talked the way he did for 12 years, he never would have been the mayor. So he has to talk, and he will talk. 6 months, don't hold your breath. Don't bet the house.
Talking is one thing, but I'll tell you something. It was in the last few years when he didn't know when to be quiet, and frankly, it's going to be very difficult for him. This is a guy who prided himself on the fact that there wasn't a day that went by in his administration, he said this, where he wasn't on television or he didn't make the headlines in the newspapers. I think he's going to have that hanging over his head with David Dinkins. I think, while he's a Democrat and all that, and they're supposedly friends, I think he's going to be all over Dinkins in a very short period of time. It's going to be like this albatross hanging over Dinkins.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Beth Fallon and Steve Adubato, thank you very much for that. Right now, we're going to take a break, and coming up on this special edition of Inaugural Day coverage, 1990, we're going to take an early look at the news as the new decade is ushered in New York style. The typical New York style. In Panama, U.S. troops serenade Noriega. He's still holed up, same place he was on Christmas. And all the sports as the Rams charge their way into the playoffs. We'll be right back.
That drunk driver almost killed me. Luckily, I got the right doctors and the right lawyer. Jacoby and Myers knew exactly what they were doing, and they took care of everything.
We got Sally's medical bills paid, her salary covered, made sure she got paid extra for her suffering. And it didn't cost her anything until after it was over. Jacoby and Myers, we've been on your side since 1972.
All I had to do was get well.
If daily combat with dirt and germs leaves your hands with battle fatigue, dry, irritated, enlist new gentle soft soap antibacterial moisturizing soap. It's unsurpassed at killing germs, yet its 4 moisturizers help condition and soften hands. Soft soap antibacterial, tough enough to kill germs, gentle enough to be called soft soap.
This is ice boating. This is weather at its worst. Arctic winds blasting you full in the face. Temperatures down to 30 below. Chapstick lip balm was made for weather like this. And you know if Chapstick works here, it'll work anywhere. Chapstick glides on smooth and seals in your lips' natural moisture. It's serious medicine, made to help lips stop chapping and start healing fast. So whatever you do this winter, don't take chances. Take Chapstick.
When you need a home equity loan and nobody's home at the bank, call Statewide Capital. 1-800-DIAL-CASH and turn your phone into a cash machine. Even if you've been turned down by the bank, Statewide Capital says yes to second mortgage home equity loans at low fixed rates without broker's fees. So call Statewide Capital. 1-800-DIAL-CASH and turn your phone into a cash machine.
We're going to be back to our special inauguration coverage very soon, but right now, some of the other New Year's news. The new decade is just over 12 hours old. Our reporter Kevin Rosen was in Times Square last night when the ball came down on the 80s.
Hundreds of thousands of people from around the world gathered in Times Square for this moment. They came from as far away as Alaska.
They're worshiping that ball up there, and it's funny because we're here for only a second, but it's good to look at mankind and see the gods that he makes.
Welcome to New York. They probably don't have police protection like this in Alaska. Nearly 3,000 police officers on horse and foot made sure revelers didn't get too out of hand.
Take your people, spread them out right across the front.
Businesses took no chances in case the cops couldn't control the crowd. They boarded up their windows.
Would you like some hot chocolate? It's free.
The best deal of the night? Free hot chocolate passed out by a religious ministry. They gave free advice, too.
We want to know that God cares and that all the people who are out here cold and homeless, some of them.
Not only that, but you warm a few bellies, right?
That's right, that's right.
And it wouldn't be New York if there wasn't someone trying to make a buck.
This goes for $1, and the big ones are $2.
This is a pretty hot item on New Year's Eve, huh?
Well, you know, it's more or less an item that everybody wants.
So why would you come out here on a rainy night when you can watch it from the comfort of your own living room?
This is where everybody's going to be looking at. This is New York. The whole eyes of America is looking here at Times Square.
Nice looking hair.
Thank you.
Did you grow that yourself? Or?
Yeah, all of 1980. The year was so good, my hair just turned out rainbowish.
It is that type of event, the nation's biggest New Year's Eve party. And even a little bit of rain can't put a damper on it. At Times Square, Kevin Rosen, 9 Broadcast Plaza.
On a night of revelry and noisemaking, Montclair was an oasis for cultural celebrations last night. The beautiful strains of Old Lang Syne. A parade through town started off the evening. It's called First Night Montclair. Other events going on at the same time included a ballet, a jazz concert, a magic show, and a traditional swing band, all within walking distance of central Montclair. The evening came to a climax with a midnight fireworks display. It was New Year's with the Nuncia for Panama's General Noriega. U.S. troops whooped it up outside the Vatican embassy. Noriega is still trapped inside, where he has refuge with the papal nuncia. Panamanians staged a candlelight vigil near the building, and there's talk that a deal to get Noriega out may be imminent. 1989 was a year that saw great change. The Berlin Wall opened up. Communism crumbled in Eastern Europe. How can we top that? Well, the world's most powerful leaders sent New Year's greetings to each other's countries today. President Bush hailed the changes in Europe, and he pledged to reduce trade barriers. Mikhail Gorbachev's message to the United States is going to be broadcast a little bit later on today. Locally, a wild chase through Manhattan today. It involved police cars, taxis, the getaway car, and it ended in death. The chase began on the west side, winding up at 34th and Lexington. The fugitive car hit a police cruiser and 2 taxis. 1 taxi passenger was killed, 3 others injured. 2 people in the getaway car are under arrest. New Year's Eve was no party for Yonkers police. 4 officers were trapped in their cars for more than an hour by shots from an apparent sniper. Yonkers police asked for help from New York City and from Westchester police, and they say the show of force may have scared the sniper off. Searchers came up empty-handed. Not only do the buses, subways, and trains cost more as of today, if you are a smoker, here's something else to try your patience. Lighting up is now banned in Grand Central Terminal and all Metro North stations. A smoking ban also takes effect today in Long Island Railroad buildings. Tightening anti-smoking regulations in schools was among the actions taken by New Jersey lawmakers in 1989. More than 200 new laws were put on the books by Governor Kane and the legislature in the year just passed. Coming up right here on a special Inauguration Day edition of 9 Broadcast Plaza, we're going to be covering the day's events. But first, we're going to go to Carl Churkin, who is always covering sports news. Carl?
Sarah Lee, the Giants are going back to work today, putting their game plan together to get back at the Rams for that 31-10 beating they got back in November. That's because the Rams bumped the Eagles out of the playoffs in the NFC wildcard game. Down at Veterans Stadium, got to give John Robinson and his staff credit for coming up with a plan to beat the Birds' big-time defense. They do gamble down in Philly, and sometimes they pay, like on this Jim Everett hook-up with Henry Ellard, as the Rams score touchdowns on their first 2 possessions. Even when Philly gets something going, it winds up going wrong for them. Tight end Keith Jackson giving it back to the Rams. Mike Stewart recovering the fumble, and it's 14-0 L.A. at the half. L.A. gets a great game out of Greg Bell, and they go on to eliminate the Eagles 21-7. In case you missed her, well, Cinderella was on the sidelines at the AFC wildcard game. She didn't wear a glass slipper, though. Down in the Dome, after trailing most of the way, Houston's Warren Moon with a second touchdown strike of the 4th quarter gives the Oilers a 23-16 lead. Then Lorenzo White gets destroyed by his hit from Ron Woodson, who recovers the fumble, too. That sets the stage for Gary Anderson to play the hero. Gets rave reviews for this 50-yard field goal as the Steelers adios the Oilers 26-23 in overtime. Pittsburgh's in Denver next weekend for round 2. All 3 local hockey clubs spending New Year's Eve on the ice for the Devils. A hard fall from first place in the Patrick Division, blowing a 3-0 lead. The Red Wings out shooting the Devils 20-3 in the final period. The final score, 6-4 Detroit. The Rangers also blow a big lead and lose, and the Isles win 4-2. Sarah Lee, that's it in sports for now. It's time to go to the inauguration.
All right, thank you very much. Right now, we are, in fact, going to go back to the inaugural festivities. The inauguration hasn't quite begun, but our Chuck Gomez is standing by live now in City Hall Park with a bird's-eye view, and he's going to tell us what is coming up. Chuck?
Well, Sarah, we're running a little bit behind schedule, but those of us who are used to covering the David Dinkins campaign are a little bit used to that. Right now, if we can go to the above the podium, you can see the Gay Men's Chorus. They're beginning to sing now. They'll be followed by the All-City High School Marching Band. After that, Harry Belafonte will introduce David Dinkins and his wife, and the swearing-in ceremony will get underway. One of the things we found out about is that David Dinkins is going to be stressing a variety of things in his speech. One of the main things is the theme of unity, that is reaching out to all segments of the community. He's calling for hope as the most powerful weapon of his administration. And what I think is a very eloquent statement, he says, "I stand before you as the elected leader of the greatest city of a great nation to which my ancestors were brought, chained and whipped in the hold of a slave ship. This day is not a tribute to me, but to the people of the city of New York." So he'll be stressing that theme of unity and reaching out to all segments of this community as he's sworn in as the 106th mayor of the city of New York. He's also going to be talking about tough times for the city. He's going to mention the city's budget gap and saying that he will not stop him from moving on to some of the city's social programs which he wants to implement. Dinkins has said his administration will encourage local business development, and he also said he's pledged to start a war on homelessness as well as AIDS. Right now, we're hearing the sounds of New York, as dignitaries begin filing in. We have seen no sight of David Dinkins yet. He'll be down momentarily, and as soon as he does, we'll bring that all to you. Reporting live from the steps of City Hall, I'm Chuck Gomez. Back to you, Sarah, now.
Chuck, you've been covering the Dinkins campaign for a very long time. And one thing I'm wondering about is this, the ecumenical service last night. In it, God's name and Dinkins' name were frequently linked together. How is Dinkins going to live up to all that?
Well, David Dinkins has made it clear that he certainly has no attempt to separate the religious nature of his background from his administration. That is, that he has consistently asked for God's help, and he's also surrounded himself with people such as Bishop Desmond Tutu, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. So I think that'll be a big part of his administration, and I think he's going to make every effort for there not to be a conflict between religion and state.
Chuck, Beth Fallon and Steve Adubato now joining that discussion.
Chuck, Dinkins was careful to say last night, though, because he and God were mentioned in the same sentence. He didn't think they were equal. That he was going to need all the help he could get, and any prayers that would come were fine. He wasn't setting himself up as deity too.
What did you think about Jesse Jackson calling the upcoming swearing in a holy occasion? Is it a holy occasion?
I think in the context of American history, yes, that we can say it is a holy occasion. This is the first African-American elected to head the greatest city in the world. And in our history and in our tradition of liberty, yes, I would go that far. I think it is.
Thank you very much. The new mayor, in fact, being hailed as a Moses who came upon New York City as a deliverer. He was called that last night in the ecumenical service at his longtime church in Harlem. Right now, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, it'll be with more inaugural day activity. Stay with us.
An important message for people who spend time alone.
I may have died if I hadn't been wearing it.
I'm alive today because of it.
It saved my life. If you spend time alone and worry about how you get help if you fell, had a medical emergency, or an accident, protect yourself the way these people do with Life Call, the 24-hour emergency response service. Simply by pressing this button, you can instantly summon an ambulance, the doctor, your family, even your next-door neighbor, all without picking up the phone. Just press this button, speak into the air.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
We're sending help immediately, Mrs. Fletcher.
Don't be caught alone. Call this toll-free number now for your free, no-obligation information about Life Call.
It saved my life.
It saved my life.
And it can save your life, too. Life Call works.
So call now for your free no-obligation information. Call 1-800-872-6601. That's 1-800-872-6601.
The arts are thriving, but not in the New Jersey public schools. People are attending museums in record numbers, but in the schools, aesthetic experiences are given short shrift. Visual thinking is not the exclusive reserve of the artist, but belongs to every productive thinking human being. Visual literacy is fundamental to learning. That's why it's so vital that the arts be considered an essential part of the school curriculum.
Once again, we think we're just moments away from the start of inauguration ceremonies for Mayor David Dinkins. We say we think because things go this way, they go late, when you have to coordinate getting all the dignitaries there, and we understand that an estimated 12,000 people have turned out to watch David Dinkins become Mayor of New York officially. He was sworn in last night, but all the public ceremonies take place in just a few minutes. And we have a number of people who are covering these events live, including our own Matt Lauer, who is with reporter Kelly Wright.
Sarah Lee, thank you very much. You know what, we hear some applause in the background right now. We're not sure whether that's for the All-City High School Band or whether Mayor Dinkins has shown up. Now I'm told that Reverend Jesse Jackson has just appeared to the crowd, and they're clapping for him. But, you know, during the campaign, David Dinkins was called quiet, understated, and somewhat distant. However, this morning he's apparently in a real jovial mood. Kelly Wright had a chance to ask him some questions, and you say he was in high spirits.
He is anything but quiet today. He's very jovial, very much like a little boy who's about to take his favorite toy and do something with it. He is just so playful today. He's been joking about sitting in Mayor LaGuardia's chair. He mentioned to reporters today when we asked him questions, he said, I sat down and the first thing I realized is that it was too low. So little anecdotes like that have been going on throughout the entire day. He's met with some old friends and some new friends today. He's been very happy, very elated. And he also talked about his family. I asked him what kind of special, endearing thoughts does he have about his family right now, who helped mold the kind of character that he's become in terms of becoming the first black mayor in the city of New York. And he mentioned that the one regret he has is that his mother, who was a domestic worker, is not able to be here. She died some years ago and was not able to be here, but he was very proud of the fact that his wife and his father were still here to be with him.
You know, I've watched David Dinkins give a lot of speeches in the last year or so. He's never been anybody who's moved people off their chairs. What is he going to have to do today in his speech that's going to be so that he can say this was a successful inaugural speech?
What he'll have to do is show the type of mantle that he wants to project for his administration, and that's a mantle of compassion. He has to project that. And I talked to some of the people who are very fond of David Dinkins, such as Washington, D.C. Mayor Marion Barry and Bella Abzug, and as well as former Mayor John Lindsay. And all of them mentioned that David Dinkins will be contagious. His passion for the city, his passion for people will be very infectious, and people will take on and grasp hold of that today.
Okay, we understand that Governor Cuomo has just about made an appearance, and there's former Mayor Ed Koch right there. Is there any indication that David Dinkins is a little bit upset by the fact that there are protests being held in and around the inaugural ceremony?
Well, you know, if he isn't showing that today. As we all have reported, he talked to those people specifically yesterday. He talked to the Jewish demonstrators as well as to the ACT UP group, which represents the gays and lesbians who were going to come here today to protest against Cardinal John O'Connor, and the Jewish leaders who were coming here to protest against Bishop Desmond Tutu. Well, that has not taken place so far. There's been a mild protest in terms of passing out leaflets, but no massive demonstration. So apparently they so far have listened to the mayor.
Okay, we've got Governor Cuomo there saying hi to the people in the crowd, and again, more celebrities are coming out of City Hall. They were staying warm while a lot of us were getting a chill out here, but now they've come out and they're, I guess, preparing for the arrival of David Dinkins. After the ceremony, the inaugural ceremony, what happens? What does the mayor do for the rest of the day?
It looks like it's going to be one big, gigantic party for the rest of the day. There is a group that is planning on staging a protest in front of the Winter Garden over at Battery Park City. That will be a small group, and they will be conducting some form of protest. But as the mayor has stated to all of the groups, don't rain on my parade today. So we'll see what happens.
And of course, any entertainer knows how to hold the audience spellbound and make a great appearance, and apparently David Dinkins is doing that. He has not yet come out here, but he should be out in any moment. And as soon as he does come out, we'll have more from you here from City, or more for you here from City Hall. Back to you now in the studio, Sarah Lee.
Thank you very much, Matt and Kelly. Bringing Steve Adubato and Beth Fallon back into the discussion now. We saw shots of Jesse Jackson. He's making a surprise but not unexpected appearance today at the inaugural activities. Same at the church last night. I wonder whether his presence casts a pall somehow on today's activities. He made some controversial remarks last night. He talked about peace meeting brutality in the Middle East. Steve?
First of all, Jackson's appearance is totally appropriate. The most prominent black politician in the city, the first black mayor in the city of New York. However, the one thing I just keep wondering about when it comes to Jesse Jackson is, does he ever understand what it means to be a loyal soldier? It's not his time to be out in the limelight. It is David Dinkins' time. And anything that Jackson says that Dinkins has to respond to with respect to the Middle East, with a large number of Jewish voters in the city and the tense times that we face right now, it strikes me that Dinkins is being put in an awkward position when his job is already tough enough. And I just wish, for Dinkins' sake, that Jackson would understand that and just back off.
But politically, Steve, that would be impossible. Jesse Jackson is the most visible black politician in America, and it was his '88 race and the registration drive that brought blacks to their feet politically.
Not only that, Dinkins was Jackson's campaign manager in New York.
For Dinkins to be shown as shunting Jesse Jackson aside, he's got to walk a very fine line here between the Jews who are opposed to Jackson's position on Israel and Palestine and the black followers who would be outraged if Jesse Jackson were not invited.
I just think Jesse makes it tougher.
A quick question. Jackson very much overshadowed David Dinkins the night of his primary win. Do you expect that to happen today?
No.
No.
No. Okay. Well, right now we are going to take a commercial break, and we will be back with more of our special inauguration coverage right here on 9 Broadcast Plaza in just a few minutes. And as we leave you with a wide shot of the audience there. That's Ruth Messenger. She she got married yesterday, and she's going to be the new Manhattan Borough President. She'll be sworn in later today. There's Abe Beam. He's right behind Ruth Messenger. You can't see him now. He's blocked. He, of course, was the mayor before Ed Koch. We can see Cardinal O'Connor now in the shot, standing near his good friend and co-author, Ed Koch. Right now, we'll take a break, and we'll be back with more of our special Inauguration Day coverage in just a moment.
If you own a home, check out Statewide Capital. We'll be glad to show you how to get a personalized, custom-tailored home equity loan that meets your special needs at excellent rates that are fixed for up to 15 years with fast approvals and no prepayment penalties. Borrow $10,000 to $250,000 or more. Simply call our toll-free number, 1-800-DIAL-CASH. That's 1-800-DIAL-CASH.
Hello, Statewide Capital.
16 candles.
Time Life Music brings you the rock and roll era.
Make a lovely life. Dream lover, where are
It's 1959 all over again, with 22 of the biggest hits on a deluxe 2-album set.
So be my guest.
22 blockbuster hits of 1959. Now at the special introductory price of $9.99 for double-length cassette, just $11.99 for 2 LPs or compact disc.
Why must I be a teenager in love?
Every other month, you'll have the opportunity to audition other great albums from the rock and roll era. Keep only those you want. Cancel at any time.
Charlie Brown, he's a clown. That Charlie Brown. Come softly, darling.
Relive the rock and roll era for this special introductory price, only from Time Life Music, the name you can trust.
Call 1-800-759-1070 or send just $9.99 for 1 double-length cassette or $11.99 for 2 records or 1 compact disc, plus $3 shipping and handling to Rock Era 1959, Grand Central Station, P.O. Box 5294, Department 201, New York, New York.
David Dinkins is about to be publicly sworn in as the 106th mayor of the city of New York, the first African-American mayor of the city of New York. Dignitaries are still filing in. We do not know whether David Dinkins has yet appeared on the podium. We suspect not, but we are looking now at a live shot to see exactly who is there. We see Andrew Stein. Andrew Stein, of course, will be New York City's new controller. And Chuck Gomez is standing by. Sorry?
Sarah.
Oh, sorry. Andrew Stein is going to become the city council president, of course. All right, Chuck Gomez, standing by live once again. What's happening out there?
For a moment, sir, I thought you said that I was going to become the city council president.
Now, that would be interesting.
Let me tell you, right now, the Real City Marching Band has just finished playing, and Harry Belafonte has just begun to introduce David Dinkins. Let's hear what he has to say.
I'm very happy and honored to be here this morning at the dawning of a new administration for the greatest city in the world. Throughout the election campaign last year, Dave Dinkins spoke often and most eloquently of what he called the gorgeous mosaic. Our city is made up of people of many colors, many ethnic backgrounds, many religions and creeds. In fact, there is not a continent or a nation on the planet that has not contributed to that gorgeous mosaic. And we have all become working parts of what is the fastest, loudest, most disruptive, most exciting, most annoying, most remarkable assemblages of glass, steel, brick, concrete, and traffic jams that humankind has ever seen. For 2 centuries, we have been a city of immigrants. Most of us came willingly to find freedom. Many of us came unwillingly and had to win freedom. Freedom was ever a word more taken for granted by Americans and more yearned for by literally billions of our fellow human beings around the world. During the past several weeks, we've seen the people of Eastern Europe rise up and demand what many of us in the United States demanded in the 1960s a not so simple democratic right, the right of choice. And we, the people of New York, have exercised that same right of choice. And as a result, we will have a new mayor, a historic new mayor who comes from a segment of our gorgeous mosaic that has never before held this great office. But before I introduce our new mayor, I would like you to meet a person whose love, strength, confidence, and devotion, and good humor have sustained our new mayor throughout not only the difficult campaign last fall, but their long and happy life together. The new First Lady of New York, the lovely Joyce Dinkins.
A standing ovation for Joyce Dinkins. Joyce Dinkins is a grandmother. She, of course, will be New York City's first lady in 12 years. Ed Koch was a bachelor. She is 59 years old. She says that Gracie Mansion will not only be the official residence of the mayor's family, but will also be a home with a welcome mat. Joyce Dinkins leaves a lucrative job, a $57,000 a year job with the Department of Taxation and Finance, to be First Lady, an unsalaried job, and she's going to be very, very busy.
The word mosaic holds special meanings for different people. But one definition that's most appropriate for this city is the mosaic that refers to the biblical figure Moses. The Moses of the Old Testament, who handed down the law to us. Because of his strong determination to keep New York a city of law and order, and by his definition, that means an orderly, compassionate law and a lawful, determined order, I introduce a man who is the embodiment of our mosaic. Our new mayor, the Honorable David N. Dinkins.
David Dinkins greeting his wife and his longtime partner, Joyce, saying hello to the other dignitaries there, including Ed Koch. Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan of New York. Everyone who is anyone in New York politics is there today.
Peter Vallone, who is the majority leader and new speaker of the newly powerful city council.
Someone Dinkins is going to have to deal with before the city charter. That wasn't the case. Vallone's going to be a powerful character.
You betcha.
David Dinkins making his way through the crowd, and Beth Fallon just identifying a few of the dignitaries for us.
They just passed Claire Schulman, the borough president of Queens. There is outgoing city controller Harrison J. Golden, whom Dinkins defeated in the Democratic primary.
And who, for the first time in years, will not have a job in city politics.
That is right.
But he says he's going to make money in the financial consulting world.
The young dynamo, out.
And there's Bill Green, Congressman Bill Green.
I don't know who that gentleman is. With Koch, Sarah, you may be interested. The lovely-looking blonde woman in the red coat is Diane Coffey, who was his chief of staff. Right.
Chief of staff.
And a very integral part of the Koch administration.
How much time do I have?
Extremely powerful lady.
Can I greet you? I'm at that. I'm on right now.
If there was ever a happy politician,
Liz Holtzman
David
right
Dinkins
there.
is happy.
Liz Holtzman, she'll be the new controller for the city of New York.
More powerful again because of the new city charter. The controller is more powerful, some people say.
Well, I don't know. I'm inclined to think not. I'm inclined to think that the majority leader in the council.
Well, I'm told that if I don't stop greeting people and get at it, we'll be way behind schedule. So I checked with Ed Koch, and he said, that's right. So I'd better get at it. I'm delighted to see so many people out here today. Well, it's a special day. Indeed it is. I'm delighted that my father is here. We call him Pop. His name is William Harvey Dinkins, Jr., my father. Daniel L. Burrows, the former assemblyman, my father-in-law, who's been like another father to me. My bride of some 37 years, the grandmother of my grandson, the First Lady of the City of New York, my wife Joyce. My daughter Donna and her husband Jay and little Jamal are here. My sister Joyce and her husband John and all the rest of the family. There are many of them here. Nephews and nieces and cousins, and I'm so delighted so many are here. To Judge Alexander, Fritz W. Alexander II, who showed me where the courthouse was when I came out of law school in 1956. A longtime friend who swore me in last night. I'm so pleased that he's part of this effort. He performed a similar chore 4 years ago when I assumed the office of the Borough Presidency of Manhattan. Governor Mario Cuomo, who has set the highest standards of principle in public service, and the First Lady of our state, without whom the governor was told he could not come, Matilda Cuomo, and Mayor Edward I. Koch. Who has achieved so much and meant so much and will continue to be a defining presence in this city. My friends and predecessors, Mayor Abraham Beam, Mayor Robert Wagner, Mayor John Lindsay. They have given so much and will continue to provide such distinguished insight and counsel. Jay Golden, who has served this city as controller faithfully for 16 years. And Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan, a voice of reason and passion in Washington. The senator and I first ran together in 1965, and I'm delighted that he is here. And the distinguished congressman from the 16th Congressional District in the village of Harlem, my brother, Charles Rangel. My good friend, Bob Abrams, the people's lawyer. Speaker Mel Miller. I'll be to Albany often, Mel. And Senator Majority Leader Ralph Marino, and Minority Leader Fred Orenstein, and City Council President Andrew Stein, with whom I've worked over this past 4 years. Delighted that he's here. And Controller Liz Holtzman. I look forward to working with her in the coming term. And Speaker Vallone, we call him Speaker now, you know. Used to be Majority Leader. Upgraded. Speaker Peter Vallone, my friend. And all my colleagues in government, many of whom have already been recognized by our Master of Ceremonies, New York's International Ambassador of Commitment and Concern, Harry Belafonte. A powerful voice of conscience in America, the Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson. And Judge Kay and Justice Milton Mullen and My friend Cardinal O'Connor, who kept his word. He promised good weather, he delivered. And Bishop Desmond Tutu, my friend, all the way from Cape Town, South Africa. The Reverend Dr. Gardner Taylor, Concord Baptist Church. And Rabbi Gilbert Clapperman, so pleased that you are here. And fellow New Yorkers, friends all, brothers and sisters, today we mark more than a transfer of power. Today we travel another mile on freedom's road. It is a giant step for us, but is only one of the many now being taken around the world. So we gather here in the fresh chill of a new year to begin a new administration, to enter a new decade, and to welcome a new birth of liberty which has steadily been expanding in our own land and which has suddenly exploded in so many other nations that once seemed so permanently gripped in an iron tyranny. Who thought or predicted that in 1989, or even in this century, or even in our lifetime, we could hear freedom ring from Berlin to Bucharest, from Prague to Budapest, and all the way to the walls of the Kremlin itself? Human rights is the most powerful idea in human history. And now we know, and yes, we don't hope, we know, that someday soon the bells of freedom will also ring in Tiananmen Square and in Soweto. We are all foot soldiers on the march to freedom, here and everywhere. We all belong to the America that Lincoln called the last best hope of earth. In advancing that hope, our most powerful weapon is example. And this year, this city has given powerful proof of the proposition that all of us are created equal. I stand here before you today as the elected leader of the greatest city of a great nation, to which my ancestors were brought, chained and whipped in the hold of a slave ship. We have not finished the journey toward liberty and justice, but surely we have come a long way. This day is not a tribute to me. It is a tribute to you, the people of New York. And the government we inaugurate here will belong to you, not to any elite or any narrow interest. Ours will be a civic forum, an open democracy that hears diverse views and voices before it decides, a democracy that holds out hope for the hopeless and assuages the fears of the fearful, a democracy that appeals to what is best in us and strives to bring us together. I see New York as a gorgeous mosaic of race and religious faith, of national origin and sexual orientation, of individuals whose families arrived yesterday and generations ago, coming through Ellis Island or Kennedy Airport, or on buses bound for the Port Authority. In that spirit, I offer this fundamental pledge. I intend to be the mayor of all the people of New York. This administration will never lead by dividing, by setting some of us against the rest of us, or by favoring one group over others. This administration will redefine the relationship between City Hall and our local neighborhoods and communities, from City Island to Staten Island, from East Harlem to East New York. We will empower people, and we will respect the need for neighborhood stabilization. We will encourage local business development, and we will emphasize community-based efforts to provide prenatal care, lead screening, child care, after-school programs, and centers of culture and companionship for seniors. Again and again, we will tend to the grassroots to nurture the initiatives that will become the new ideas of New York's future. This administration will seek an inclusive prosperity, not one that leaves too many lost amidst the wealth and grandeur that surrounds us. We will join with business and labor to build the economy of the 21st century, and we will ask them to join with us to prepare our people to work in it, to earn their own way, and to move ahead. This administration will renew the quest for social justice, whether the issue is education or affordable housing, the environment, health care, or consumer rights, the shame of homelessness, or the pain of AIDS. We will speak out against national policies that offer cold indifference instead of compassion. And we will set our priorities to strengthen the weak, to help those who have been hurt, and to keep the middle class living in New York City. I recognize that we cannot do everything we should, that our finances may get worse before they get better, that for now our dreams are bigger than our budget. We must assure long-term fiscal stability. We face difficult times ahead, and we will make the difficult choices. The sacrifices will be shared and shared fairly. As a city, we cannot live beyond our means, and however, we will never be mean-spirited, and we must never lose sight of our dreams. We must never forget the moral imperatives that count far more than money. We must demand the equality of women and defend a woman's right to choose. We must stand for and speak for justice around the world, including Israel's right to exist in safety and security, and a free South Africa rid of the evil of apartheid. We must oppose discrimination in any form against anyone, African American or Asian, Latino, persons with disabilities and veterans, lesbians and gays. In dealing with AIDS, we must seek to cure the disease and not curse the afflicted. Most of all, we must reaffirm the rule of law and fight back against the pushers and muggers and take back our streets and subways and our parks. And we must do this by night as well as by day. Let me say what I said often during the campaign. I intend to be the toughest mayor on crime this city has ever seen. And I challenge our citizens to enlist in that cause, to work with the police and to depose the drug dealers from their places of power, to arrest them and convict them and send them to prison. The enemy is not just overseas in Panama or Colombia. In too many neighborhoods, the enemy is across the street, peddling poison to our kids. The answer is not to legalize drugs, but to enforce the laws against them. The answer is not to explain or excuse crime, but to insist that there is no such thing as just stealing from a store or just snatching a purse. We must demand discipline and respect for the law and for each other from all who share this city. Lawlessness is as unacceptable inside the government of New York as it is on the sidewalks of New York. Official corruption is nothing less than another form of common theft, and it will not be tolerated in this administration. I believe that freedom from crime is a basic civil right of all our people, as fundamental as the franchise and fair housing. So here today, in my first act as mayor, I invite each of you to enter office with me by joining a community anti-crime group, by helping a public school provide drug education, or if you're a parent, by insisting upon a new ethic of individual accountability and responsibility for your children and your family. I believe that individuals can make a difference, but I also believe that there are great differences only government can make. Our city budget is complex. Our programs are numbered in the hundreds. Our public employees in the hundreds of thousands. Yet our purpose is simple and enduring: to improve the standard of life for each and every citizen. And we must start with the most vulnerable and the most precious of all our people, our children. To that end, I hereby dedicate the Dinkins administration to the children of New York. And the measure of whether I fulfill my mandate will be how we treat those who start out in life during my tenure at City Hall. As we join together here in this pageant of progress and democracy, there is this morning, somewhere in this city, a child born addicted to crack, a child suffering from AIDS, a child beaten down by the deprivation of poverty, a child abandoned, a child forgotten, a child whose dream has already been denied. No matter how rich and powerful we become, we cannot be satisfied when so many children experience the sunset of opportunity at the very dawn of their existence. For the children of this city are voices of hope, singing out the sweet songs of the future amidst the discord of daily life. They sing in Spanish and English, Russian and Italian, Korean and Creole, all the dozens of languages we speak in our town. The spirit of their youth says to each of us, follow your hopes and not your fears. And to them, and to each of you, I make this promise. The same one I made when I entered the United States Marine Corps, Semper Fidelis, always faithful. Thank you. God bless you. Keep the faith.
David Dinkins wrapping up his inaugural address. He dedicated his administration to the children of New York City. He's telling New Yorkers to get involved, volunteer, join a community anti-crime group, or help bring a public school to provide drug education.
Representatives of the fire department, police department, the sanitation department, and the public schools. And to sing our national anthem, an artist acclaimed for her remarkable talent throughout the world, from our own Metropolitan Opera, the incomparable Miss Marilyn Horne.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner
Marilyn Horne singing the national anthem. What's going to happen now, we understand, is that State Court of Appeals Judge Fritz Alexander will administer the oath of office. He, of course, did that in private last night, making it official, or I should say at 12:01 this morning. Here's Harry Belafonte, the Master of Ceremonies, once again.
And now, to deliver the invocation, two distinguished churchmen from our city, the former president of the New York Board of Rabbis, Rabbi Gilbert Clapperman, followed by the pastor of the Concord Baptist Church in Bedford-Stuyvesant, the Reverend Dr. Gardner Taylor.
Almighty God, we offer a prayer to you this day for our beloved city and for the new administration that has been elected to lead it into this new decade. For our city, we pray that it will be restored to its golden glory and lustrous beauty, that its streets will be safe, and that its inhabitants will live in abiding harmony with each other, so that all of us can proudly proclaim that this is a city in which it is good and pleasant for brethren to dwell together. For the members of the new administration, the Honorable Andrew Stein, President of the City Council, and the Honorable Elizabeth Holtzman, Comptroller of the City of New York, we pray the fulfillment of their inspired hopes for our city and for the vindication of the faith that we, the electorate, have invested in them. For our new mayor, David N. Dinkins, a dedicated and illustrious public servant, we pray that his prescription for healing and his dream of reconciliation will be effectuated in order to bring peace and stability to our city. We pray for him, Almighty God, the fulfillment of your words of blessing to Joshua when he succeeded to leadership. I will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. Be strong and of good courage. Be not affrighted, neither be thou dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with thee, whithersoever thou goest. With thy blessing, O Lord, with the devotion of our leaders, and as we stand together united in our common effort, we will rebuild and rejuvenate our city and make it once again a happy home for a pleased and productive citizenry. We pray thee this, O Lord. Amen.
Let us continue to lift up our hearts before our Maker, God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way. We thank thee for the gift of this day, for its brightening sky, for a new year and a new decade, and may it please thee, a new season when this city thrusts forward toward its democratic commitment to equality and opportunity. We thank thee for all of those in other generations and in our own who have served and sacrificed that this day might be possible. With guilt and grief, we hold before thee those who have been left out and left back, the hurting, the homeless, the hopeless, the helpless. Grant that they may be brought into the embrace of the plenitude of this society. We pray for Andrew Stein and Elizabeth Holzman, and particularly we hold before thee David Norman Dinkins as he assumes his awesome responsibilities. We pray for his wife, the partner of the years, that she may be given special grace for her role and responsibilities. O God, grant upon this mayor-elect, as he receives the weighted mantle of leadership, that he may have strength of body, tenderness of heart, firmness of will, steadfastness of purpose, and clarity of vision. And grant, we pray, that those of us who are his fellow citizens may be willing, no eager, to grasp the vision which he lifts before us, and that we will be purposeful and determined in pursuing it to fulfillment. And, O God, grant by thy grace and under his leadership that this legendary city will become more and better than the sum of all its parts. We ask it in the name of all thou hast shown us of thy grace and thy goodness. Amen.
And now, to administer the oath of office, an associate judge of New York State Court of Appeals, the Honorable Fritz W. Alexander II.
Thank you, Mr. Belafonte. Are we having a good time? I recall a colder day 4 years ago when I administered the oath of office to my dear friend David Norman Dinkins as the president of the borough of Manhattan. I also recall a day in Albany nearly 4 years ago when I took as my bride the lovely Beverly, a wedding that David attended. I have a videotape of that event. On that day, I predicted and I introduced David Norman Dinkins to the guests there assembled as the next mayor of the city of New York. Would that I could predict the lottery numbers as accurately.
And the pure force of their being transcend national borders. When freedom comes to South Africa, this man will have played a most decisive role. The Anglican Archbishop of Cape Town, the Right Reverend Desmond Tutu.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor and friends, I bring you greetings from your sisters and brothers in South Africa. They say, good morning. They say hi. It's a very great privilege to be here on this momentous and auspicious occasion. I want to wish you and the new mayor, his family, and his colleagues, and all of you, a very blessed 1990. It's a great privilege to be here, and just in case my head gets too swollen, I remember some of the stories they tell at home. Once they say, when I died and went to the pearly gates, I thought this is where I should be going. And St. Peter said, no, I ought to go to the warmer place. And a fortnight later, there was frenzied knocking on the doors of heaven. And there was the old devil himself on the doorstep. And St. Peter said, "What are you doing here?" And the devil said, "Well, you sent Bishop Tutu down there. He's causing so much trouble that I've come to ask for political asylum." I want you to know, Mayor Dinkins, that your victory here has been a great inspiration to us in South Africa. I want you to know that we back home, engaged in the struggle for justice and peace, we back home engaged in working for a new South Africa, a non-racial South Africa, a non-sexist South Africa, a democratic South Africa. We believe that your victory here is a sign for us that our victory is assured. And we know that justice will overcome. We know that oppression and evil, exploitation, that all of these will have had their day. Your victory here is a sign to us back home that we will be able to invite all of you and say, "Hey, come and celebrate with us our freedom when we will march hand in hand, black and white, Jew and whoever. We will walk together into the future of this new South Africa, and nothing will stop us, for the people are unstoppable. When people march, they march and they are unstoppable. They march in Eastern Europe, they march in South Africa, and the citadels of apartheid will be demolished, and we will be brothers and sisters, as we really are, black and white, in a country where the color of a person's skin will be the total irrelevance that it is. And we will know that we belong together, black and white, as brothers and sisters in one family, God's family.
Just a few minutes ago, to let you know, there apparently something fell from atop one of the balconies, and it appears that someone was hurt in the head. He was carried away. There was a little minor disturbance here for a while. People thought that maybe Mayor Dinkins might be in trouble, but that was cleared up. Apparently something, a rock or something, fell from atop one of the balconies, and there was a momentary disturbance here, but that appears to have been cleared up. This during the speech by Bishop Desmond Tutu. At this point, David Dinkins, as you can see, receiving the hug of Desmond Tutu before he resumes again.
Despite the problems our state faces, the citizens of New York have much to be thankful for. And one of our great fortunes is our governor. His place in our mosaic is one of great moral stature. His place in our mosaic is one of national pride. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the good, kind, compassionate Chief Executive of the state of New York, the Honorable Mario Cuomo.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Harry Belafonte. Mr. Mayor, Joyce, members of the Dinkins family, distinguished guests, fellow New Yorkers. I thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing Matilda and me the pleasure of sharing your celebration today. You have already said what needs to be said and said it beautifully. I'll take only enough time to tell you that as children of the city and as taxpayers and voters still, Matilda and I feel the thrill and excitement of this moment together with all the millions of people who applaud you today and who utter a silent prayer for the strength and good luck that you will surely need. You have said, Mr. Mayor, that you believe the days ahead will be challenging. I am sure that you're right. But it's also true that this city, like this state, has grown to preeminence by overcoming challenges, floods and fires, depressions and recessions, and the constant strain of trying to fit many different pieces and shapes into what you and I both call our beautiful mosaic. I'm sure we will overcome those challenges again for a number of reasons, but mostly, Mr. Mayor, because of you, David Dinkins. You are an extraordinary combination of strength and gentleness, Mr. Mayor. A proven politician, you have high intelligence, experience, and a fundamental strength of character and abiding civility that attract people to you and that win their loyalty. But one thing more you have, and you demonstrate it constantly as you did again today. You know that in this town, as in this world, we are a family or we perish. You know that if we are to overcome the challenges facing New York City, and there are many, and the challenges facing the rest of this state, the rest of this nation, indeed the rest of the world, we must come together. Now, that is not to say we must always be quiet about our differences, hardly. Every good marriage needs a little venting. So does every good city. We invented picket signs and bullhorns so that the people would always be able to remind their elected representatives that they are public servants and not masters, and that's good. Although we would hope that we would do it always with civility, without violence, and without meanness. But in the end, we must come together in common purpose, giving and receiving, sharing benefits and burdens, taking turns at the table, or we will not make it to the promise of the 21st century. I am confident, especially because you understand that so well, Mr. Mayor. You understand that everyone must be included in the ambit of our concern. Everyone must be involved in the making of plans. Everyone must be allowed to participate in finding and implementing solutions, not just the powerful, not just the favored, and not just the winners, and not just those who are here today, but all of us, even those who doubt and deny. This city needs help from Washington, Mr. Mayor, and from Albany. It needs a lot of luck. It needs a lot of other things. But this city needs most of all hope. And that is another reason why your emergence is so fortunate for all of us. You are an embodiment of that hope by what you have been, by what you have done, by what you are. You remind your contemporaries of the greatness of this place, and you instruct our children as to how much greater it can be. You have said it many times, and you have said it well. You send a message, Mr. Mayor, the message that says there's opportunity here for everyone if you're willing to work hard to take advantage of it. There's opportunity here for the sons and daughters of people from Poland like Ed Koch, of Italians from Salerno like me, of the Irish and the Greeks, and yes, the blacks from Africa and Hispanics, and the Asians, and all New Yorkers. You send the message that, of course, there will be hurdles and obstacles, sometimes particularly difficult ones, but that none of them are too difficult for New Yorkers to determine to make the very most of the time, the place, and the chance. On this first new joyous day of a new decade, all of us look forward to a challenging period, but one which, with your leadership, Mr. Mayor, will be the beginning of a whole new progressive area for this city, this state, even this country. We go forward together. Thank you, and God bless you.
Governor Mario Cuomo praising what he called Dinkins' civility, which he said allows him to win people over.
In the many difficult days that lie ahead for David N. Dinkins, there will be no single person that can offer him more insight, more wisdom, and more knowledge about the workings of this city than a man whose dominant personality did much to shape this city in the last 12 years. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you His Honor, the ex-mayor of our city, Ed Koch.
Thank you very much, Harry. Fellow New Yorkers, the oath of office has an optional phrase at its conclusion. Some use it, some do not. David chose, as I did and others before me, to use it. At the conclusion, he said, "So help me God." He is going to need God's help and your help. The problems are monumental, but with that special name that he bears of David, he is without question able to overcome the monsters, the giants of AIDS and drugs and homelessness and all of the problems that afflict every city in America. He cannot do it alone. He invoked the name of God, but he needs you. He needs every one of us. And so we each have to pledge that in the days ahead, that we will help him in every way we can. If he fails, we fail. When he succeeds, as he will, all New York will be the beneficiary. I wish you, David, only the best. You now are our leader. You are now the embodiment of New York City. We are in your hands. Thank you, and God bless.
A gracious Ed Koch giving words of encouragement to his successor, David Dinkins.
And now, to administer the oath of office to Andrew Stein, the continuing Great Council President of the City of New York, the presiding justice of the Appellate Division, 2nd Judicial Department, the Honorable Milton Mullen.
Thank you, Mr. Belafonte. My congratulations first to Mayor David Dinkins and to Controller Elizabeth Holtzman, and now to my privileged and pleasurable assignment.
Andrew Stein about to be sworn in again to a familiar job, that of City Council President. That is New York City's second top job. Andrew Stein making his way through the crowd with his wife.
Raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I, Andrew J. Stein,
I, Andrew J. Stein,
do solemnly swear and promise
do solemnly swear and promise
that I will uphold the Constitution
that I will uphold the Constitution
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of New York
and the Constitution of the State of New York
and the Charter of the City of New York,
and the Charter of the City of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
the
duties of the office
of the
of the President of the Council of the City of New York,
the President of the Council of the City of New York,
and I so solemnly swear.
and I so solemnly swear.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you, Judge. Harry. Thank you very much, Judge. I see so many friends out there who are shivering, so I want to assure you this will be short. Thank you very much for all being here today, and Happy New Year. What an exciting year it has been. A year when the democratic idea, our idea, inspired millions in every corner of the world. Ordinary people, workers and students, the young and the old, made history. They tore down walls that we once thought would never come down. And they swept aside.
Andrew Stein, the city council president who was just sworn in, sounding a familiar theme. In fact, one that was sounded by David N. Dinkins, who in his inaugural speech likened today's events to the bold new steps being taken all over the world, the tearing down of the Berlin Wall and the democracy we've seen in the past few weeks for Czechoslovakia and Romania. Dinkins' inaugural speech sounded a lot of familiar themes. It didn't really break any new territory. He talked about getting involved. He talked about volunteerism. He talked about his administration's renewed commitment to social justice, whether the issue is education or helping people with AIDS or finding homes for the homeless. The question is going to be, how will David Dinkins pay for it in the months to come, facing a big budget deficit? We're going to explore that issue with Beth Fallon and Steve Adubato when we come back from this break, so stay with us.
How long do you think it would take you to get in really great shape?
Oh, I don't know. 6 months?
At this rate, years.
With my hips. Forever.
Now Sports Illustrated will show you how you can start to get in shape in just 8 weeks.
I can believe 8 months.
No, 8 weeks.
Now there's the Sports Illustrated Super Shape Up program, a unique 3-stage video workout system designed by sports fitness experts. It's the program that offers you flexibility, strength, and aerobics, everything you need to help get you in shape. It stars the Sports Illustrated swimsuit models Elle Macpherson, Rachel Hunter, and Cheryl Teagues.
Begin with my video, Stretch and Strengthen. You'll start to feel stronger and more flexible in the very first week.
Stretch and Strengthen with Elle Macpherson does just that. It helps make your body strong, supple, and fit enough for a more advanced workout.
Then you move up to my video, Body Sculpting. It really helps reshape your body.
Body Sculpting with Rachel Hunter tightens up those frustrating areas that don't go away, even when you lose weight.
Now you're ready for my video, Aerobic Interval Training. It's the advanced way to make your body burn calories more efficiently.
Aerobic Interval Training with Cheryl Teagues helps you slim down, even in those stubborn places where weight goes on first.
I can stick to anything for 8 weeks.
With 3 videos, I won't get bored.
It sounds easy. I think I can do it.
You don't have to buy expensive equipment or go to a spa or join a health club. Just call this toll-free number for the 3-video Super Shape-Up program, including complete instructions. You can use your credit card, and you'll be billed in 3 easy monthly payments of $19.95 each.
Stretch out.
Get fit.
Shape up.
Sounds great.
Let's go for it.
Call now and get the complete Super Shape-Up program on 3 video cassettes with easy-to-follow instructions.
8 weeks to fitness. 8 weeks to a better body.
The sooner you start, the sooner you'll get there.
Once again, we continue our special Inauguration Day coverage right here on 9 Broadcast Plaza. Before we took a break, we talked about the fact that David N. Dinkins, in his inaugural address, really didn't break any new ground, but he once again talked about his commitment to the homeless, to his commitment with people with AIDS, to correcting social injustice. The big question now is, how will David Dinkins pay for it? Beth Fallon and Steve Adubato joining us once again. He faces a $530 million budget deficit. He may see an even bigger one by June 30th.
Absolutely, another $170 million. And then he's got maybe $1 billion for fiscal 1991, which will start July 9th. So what he's going to have to do is use some of those negotiating skills to make people give more and take less.
And Beth, you know, it's something that Dinkins said that was interesting that other people played upon. And think about this. He talked about Eastern Europe. He talked about what's happening over there in terms of communism, you know, crumbling and democracy building up. the ironic twist here is that as New York City faces such difficult fiscal times, the United States, the federal government's resources are probably going to be going in that direction when you think about it, into Eastern Europe, because we have to stabilize those governments. It's somewhat ironic when you think about it, because Dinkins is going to be going to a Republican president, fighting for more federal dollars. And frankly, I think he's going to do well, because my sense is he and Bush have comparable personalities, low-key, replacing somebody, great communicator types. I think he's going to have a lot of success there, but it's interesting when you think about that with what's going on in Europe.
Well, I disagree with you. I don't think he'll get anything from Bush, and I don't think he'll get much from Cuomo either. He hasn't got it.
Beth and Steve, we're going to continue this discussion in just a moment, but right now we have Chuck Gomez standing by live outside City Hall. Chuck?
Sarah, there was an interesting sideline here a moment ago when we interrupted as Bishop Desmond Tutu was speaking. I told you that a man in the audience grabbed his head as if a rock had hit it, and there was a minor disturbance for a moment. It appears, according to a Dinkins staffer, and this is an unconfirmed report, that someone might have thrown an egg from the roof of City Hall, perhaps even aimed at David Dinkins and hit one of the guests instead. And that's what we saw when the man was grabbing his head. Now, there's a news conference scheduled after this, whether it's about the egg by itself or whether, as we understand that there might be an unconfirmed report also that an armed intruder has been arrested outside the City Hall perimeter. Perhaps all these matters will be resolved at a news conference following the inauguration. David Dinkins is breaking tradition, holding this press conference. He was scheduled to go directly to the Winter Garden, so perhaps he'll have something to tell us then.
Chuck,
back to you.
Chuck, before you go, there were supposed to be several protests today. A protest by people with AIDS against the appearance of Cardinal O'Connor at the activities, and a protest by some Jewish groups who are upset about Bishop Tutu being included because of remarks he's made about a Palestinian state. Have those protests emerged? Have they materialized?
I'll tell you, Sarah, from my vantage point, I couldn't tell you exactly because I can't see all the areas around City Hall. I will say there were some demonstrators with placards as Desmond Tutu spoke, who only held them up, and I didn't notice any visible or a very vocal demonstration from where I'm standing, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't one.
But nothing disruptive
No,
at any event?
nothing disruptive that I could see.
Thank you very much, Chuck and Beth and Steve. We are going to take a break right now. No, we're not. Right now, we're going to go to Elizabeth Holtzman, who no longer is a district attorney, but is about to become New York City's controller.
I, Elizabeth Holtzman, do solemnly swear and promise.
I, Elizabeth Holtzman, do solemnly swear and promise
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States.
That I will uphold the Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the State of New York.
The Constitution of the State of New York.
And the Charter of the City of New York.
And the Charter of the City of New York.
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties.
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties.
Of the Office of Comptroller of the City of New York.
Of the Office of Comptroller of the City of New York.
According to the best of my ability.
According to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you very much.
Other New York City office holders will be sworn in a little bit later today at 3:15. It'll be Ruth Messenger. She's the Manhattan Borough President. She'll be taking David Dinkins' place.
Thank you.
And right now, we're going to take a break, and we will continue with our inauguration coverage on 9 Broadcast Plaza in just a moment.
You and your family deserve the credit you need, and the people at Credit Line 1000 want to help you get credit now, regardless of your credit history. Dial 1-900-535-CALL, and we will issue you your very own preferred gold card with a guaranteed credit line of $1,000 with no credit check or secured bank account. We don't care if you have bad credit or no credit at all, even if you've been turned down by other credit card companies. We'll help you build or reestablish your credit by issuing you your very own preferred gold card. You may also charge thousands of brand name items and pay no interest. And because we want your business, you will also receive a $50 merchandise certificate to use with your catalog. But that's not all. You will also receive a special application for a bank-issued MasterCard. That's right. You get it all for just a $9.95 processing fee. Call us now at 1-900-535-CALL. Your credit is good with us.
Hey, Bill, want to catch the game down at the school?
In a minute. Something important just came in the mail.
Mail? More important than football?
Oh, yeah. It's from Fidelity Investments. It's the free fact kit I called for.
Fact kit? What's it about?
Fidelity's Spartan Money Market Fund. It's one of the highest yielding money market funds available today, and it offers money market stability.
How does it offer such high current yields?
Through low operating expenses.
Oh.
And with Spartan, I pay only for the transactions I make, like check writing.
So you have convenient access to your money. Sounds great.
And Spartan guarantees low operating expenses into 1992.
How do I get one of these?
Call now toll-free for your free fact kit. Find out more about the high current yields of the Spartan Money Market Fund. You'll also get Fidelity's free bonus booklet, How to Choose a Money Market for the 90s. Call now, 1-800-233-9400, and let Fidelity show you how. Minimum investment $20,000.
Today's inaugural activities are running nearly an hour behind schedule. Just about now, things should be wrapping up. They're not quite wrapped up. And all the guests should be on their way to a lively reception at the World Financial Center. They're not there yet, but our Renee Hambley is.
Thank you very much. We have several demonstrators here today, different groups. Can you tell me your name, please?
Elon Emmanuel from the Hebrew Institute of Riverdale.
And what are you protesting?
Tutu's presence at this inauguration, which was meant to be an inauguration which was meant to cement the people of the city together, a rainbow coalition, and yet they brought in somebody who's not only is divisive, has double standards, has said that Israel is compared to Nazis, has said that
I think what Desmond Tutu had said was that the Jewish people should forgive the Nazis for what happened.
no, he also said that Israeli policies are like the Nazi policies, and he's also compared the Israeli policies to South African policies, and he's made other very anti-Semitic statements to the effect that when the blacks take over in South Africa, the Jews will be the first to pay for that. That's not the kind of person or statesman you want at an inauguration of this nature.
I know that your presence has been seen, and we appreciate you talking to us today. Thank you very much. Let's go back to Sarah Lee.
Renee, I see that you're still there outside City Hall. When are you going to be making your way down to the World Financial Center?
As soon as we finish here, Sarah Lee, it'll be in a little bit.
All right, well, we hope you do have a good time.
Thank you.
All right, right now, what we're going to do is we'd like to take a look back at the inauguration activities at City Hall and see what's going on. We do expect Cardinal O'Connor to approach the podium momentarily. Let's take a look at the events at City Hall.
All of our young people. A system that
All right,
provides
right now, Liz Holtzman is still at the podium. This is an opportunity for us once again to speak to political analyst Steve Adubato and commentator Beth Fallon. I'd like to ask you this. Ed Koch made some remarks today that sounded very gracious and conciliatory. He was not originally scheduled to speak. Were you surprised that he did in fact speak and that he sounded the themes he did sound?
I was surprised and pleased. I think that he was extraordinarily gracious. It was even more gracious of Dinkins to ask him. You also noticed that Dinkins spoke at high noon. He didn't make the primary night mistake. He spoke before the national anthem. He didn't have to follow Tutu, he didn't have to follow Koch, and he didn't have to follow Cuomo. I thought it was extraordinarily gracious of both men to do this today.
Let's talk about the Dinkins speech itself. It was well written, it was not particularly well delivered, or at least it didn't get the sort of enthusiasm that I would have expected from the audience, and that, in fact, we've seen in the past.
But Sarah Lee, I think it was an extraordinary speech. Beth, do you have any insight as to who wrote that?
Bob Schrum, who has done a lot of work for the Kennedys, and a colleague whose name I apologize for forgetting, wrote the speech.
Very well written, but the audience appeared to be politely applauding rather than showing any real enthusiasm.
Sarah Lee, I think that what David Dinkins is doing is what he does best. He is not Jesse Jackson. He is not a Mario Cuomo. He has his own attributes, and he brings them to everyone today. I don't think he was trying to get people to get up and scream and yell and chant. I think he got his message across, and I thought it was an eloquent speech.
Will it be a speech that will be remembered?
Dinkins, the grandfather. Dinkins, the conciliator. Dinkins, the decent guy that you can trust. Remember, the two greatest applause lines came for the rule of law and Desmond Tutu. And that's a parlay that Dinkins is trying to walk as the 106th mayor of New York.
When you talk about the tough job he has, not only today with all these different interests and the protests and everything else, a guy by the name of Professor Richard Wade from the CUNY system had an interesting quote that I read today in the paper. He said that the only mayor to have a worse time than Dinkins was Fiorello LaGuardia, who inherited both a corrupt administration and a depression. That's how tough this job really is Dinkins faces, and he's going to need a lot of luck.
He faces a very tough job, particularly since Staten Island is threatening to secede, and a lot of people predict that that borough, in fact, will. Right now, we're going to take a final check out on the field with Matt Lauer. Matt, what do you have for us?
Well, Sarah Lee, I'm here, and Renee's here as well. Just one note that I think was kind of heartwarming. I talked to a couple of people who were sitting in the audience close to the stage, and I just looked down during some of the speeches, and I said, you know, why are you here, and are you enjoying yourself? And one lady looked at me and said, it's the first time I've been here for more than one inauguration. It's the first time I ever felt as though this was for me as well, and I'm a part of this, which was nice.
Yeah, this is my very first. It was very, very interesting. I really enjoyed myself.
And we should mention that it did turn a little chilly here, Sarah Lee, but again, everybody had a good time, and we're glad to have been a part of it. We'll go back to you now in the studio.
Thank you. At least it did not rain on David N. Dinkins' parade. David Dinkins made history today in New York City. He's become the 106th mayor, the first African-American to hold that prestigious office. We're going to leave you now with some sights and sounds of the David Dinkins inauguration as we say goodbye to you here today. Goodbye from 9 Broadcast Plaza. Matt Lauer, Renee Hambley, and I will see you once again tomorrow.
The problems we face here in New York City are problems